July 17th, and we're going to start the Redondo Beach Planning Commission meeting. And let's start off. Let's see, what do we have to do first today? Let's do a call to order. Let's do a roll call first.
Commissioner Light.
Present.
Commissioner Boswell.
Present.
Commissioner Young.
Present.
Commissioner Gaddis.
Late.
Commissioner Conroy.
Here.
Commissioner Hazeltine.
Here.
Chairperson Craig.
Here. Seeing we're all here, let's stand and if we could have Mr. Conroy lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, very good. All right, so next on our list is approving the order of agenda. Would anyone
Motion
like
to
to change?
approve the order of agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no objection, we will continue with the current order as presented. We have our blue folder. We received that this afternoon. I think everyone's got a copy of that.
Motion to receive and file blue folder items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. We now blue folders accepted. Next on our list is consent calendar. These are business items except those formally noticed for the public hearing or those polled for discussion or assigned for the consent calendar. Commission members may request that any consent calendar item be removed, discussed, and acted upon separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under excluded consent calendar section below. Those items on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion. The chair will call on anyone wishing to address the commission on any consent calendar item on the agenda which has not been polled by the commission for discussion. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once, and comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes.
Motion to receive and file.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no objections, we will proceed. Next is public participation on non-agenda items. And I do have 2 cards. First one is from Rick McKillen. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second before I start that, I did forget one thing. Before we begin the meeting, we are required to note any ex parte communication we have had on any of the agenda items we have before us tonight. Commissioner Light, do you have any ex parte communication to report?
Nothing to disclose.
Commissioner Boswell.
No ex or otherwise parte communications with anyone.
Commissioner Young.
I had a conversation with Zain Obaji and with Melissa DeChamp.
Very good. Commissioner Gaddis.
None to disclose.
Commissioner Conroy.
Nothing to report.
And Commissioner Hazeltine.
I had conversation with Chair Craig, and I had a conversation with Councilperson Scott Barrett and the public.
Very good. And as Commissioner Hazeltine mentioned, I had the communication with her. I also spoke with Councilmember Obaji, Councilmember Barrett, some members of the general public. Very good. Now we can continue on to public participation. Please come up, Mr. McQuillan.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Rick McQuillan from Manhattan Beach with a mid-year update on the CRTs and southbaystreets.com. I'm talking with the City Council and Youth and Cultural Arts Commissions, the NRBBA, Redondo Chamber, Redondo Tourism, Redondo Union High School, and the community, and you. I emailed you this morning some screenshots from the beta site. There you'll see some map hubs and some starting samples of what I call projects, goals, and needs. None of it's pretty or usable yet. It's still deeply in construction. This isn't big tech, it's community tech. So you're not seeing the final product. I'm inviting the community into the process because I need you. G.K. Chesterton once said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. In other words, you kind of have to start somewhere. So it's all messy. Now, is it worth doing? I don't see how losing our local merchants can be good for anyone, for residents, enterprising residents, or the city. So the goal of this is to drive commerce shopping back from online to local. starting here in Redondo Beach and North Redondo to start. So this app that if you look at it, has two main working concepts, maps and tops. The maps are really storefront directories. I've been told they're kind of like resort maps, but for commerce. And we're looking at adding public art and historical sites. The Cultural Arts Commission's inquired about adding the public art, and Mayor Lights said, why don't we put historical sites in there? So we're looking into kind of making it a blended thing. The Artesia Boulevard map is there now. The Galleria will be next, and we can do the whole city. But these maps are just a portal into the deeper capability, which is what I call TOPS. This concept is new. How do we create enduring relationships between residents and visitors, residents and also visitors and local merchants? I believe we can do this by elevating the process from buying products to satisfying goals and needs. You'll see more about this soon. Call me crazy, but my vision has little annexes of retailers on Artesia, like maybe Skechers and Target and Macy's and totally new ones. And I've also been told maybe another way to look at this app is kind of like an Access Redondo, but for commerce. I present this to the Planning Commission because our goal is to attract and retain aspirational, healthy businesses that help our residents improve their lives and reach their goals. I bet it still doesn't make much sense to you now, and that's okay. Please ask any questions or share ideas. The community is starting to shape this now. And by the way, I've been doing this kind of project all my career, so you can't hurt my feelings with any type of feedback. It's all valuable. So let's have some fun with this. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Our next speaker is Mr. Mueller, Jim Mueller.
Good evening. I'm Jim Mueller, District 5. I heard that the super secret Economic Development Committee was supposed to update us on their deliberations. I looked all over the city's website and the internet and found nothing. Does this mean they got nothing? In District 5, think a better developed Artesia Boulevard Business District should be a critical city goal. But the only economic development idea for the north so far seems to be cannabis shops. Oh, then there's the ACAP. The idea of the ACAP is that bigger buildings and less parking will turn things around, plus a parquet or two, and nobody knows when even those will become a reality. I guess we shouldn't expect more from the city's planning and development department, since the director's experience is in Carmel and Laguna, which are hardly hotbeds of development. There are cities in California that have successfully revitalized: Sacramento, San Diego, Pasadena, and Redwood City. These development efforts have two common features: broad citizen input and mixed use, two things that Redondo Beach City government doesn't seem to like. People are the most important part of urban development. Business follows people. The people who live around Artesia Boulevard are, for the most part, middle and upper income families. Has anyone asked the families why they would rather spend time and shop at Del Amo, Manhattan Village, or Hermosa? Has anyone wondered why many of the businesses on Artesia aren't family-oriented? The cities that successfully revitalized did ask those kinds of questions. My friend Rick McQuillan is working on a marketing survey app. Why not help him promote it? There are simple things to get people onto Artesia: sponsor a public market on the Greenway, help promote NRBBA's Dine Around coming up in August and September. Artesia development will never happen without an understanding of and action to satisfy the needs and desires of the surrounding population, and the development of Artesia revenue base is critical to city finances. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any hands raised or any commentary online we should be addressing?
We have no hand raised at this time.
Great, very good. Next, we are the section of Section J, our public hearings. And before I'd like to go on this, I'd like to actually make a quick comment about the next section. And so before we begin tonight, I want to address a false narrative that few people on social media continue to push, and that this commission is not business friendly. That couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, this commission has consistently supported local businesses. Just look at our track record. We've approved nearly every conditional use permit that has come before us. And more importantly, we haven't just approved them, we've improved them. Many applicants have come here with CUPs that included limited hours of operation or a smaller number of employees, likely believing a scaled-down proposal might be easier to get approval. But we saw those limitations as potential obstacles to success. Instead, we encourage broader allowances, such as more hours, more staffing, so business owners wouldn't have to return later and come in front of us for another time-consuming revision to their CUP. That kind of forward thinking gives businesses a stronger start and a better chance to thrive in our city. This creative approach is what sets this commission apart and is one of the reasons I'm proud to serve alongside each of you here. For 6 years, from 2017 to 2023, Mayor Brand publicly expressed his desire to try to get me on this commission. Unfortunately, politics and opposition from 3 former council members prevented that from happening. That's why I consider it not just a privilege, but an honor to serve here with you. I'm especially proud to serve alongside a group of dedicated volunteers who bring a wide range of perspectives and experiences. We don't always agree, but that's a strength. Together, we reflect the values and priorities that this community has consistently voiced at the ballot box for at least 17 years. Most importantly, this commission represents the voters, not special interests. And I believe that's why the public trusts the work that we do. Now, I hope the mayor and city council acknowledge this fact and allow us to continue this important work that we're doing on behalf of our city that we all care about. Now, that said, tonight, we're being asked by the City Council to do something a little bit different from our usual role. We're being asked to consider restrictions on certain types of businesses. So I want to make it absolutely clear, this proposal did not come from us. This distinction matters because it's important for the public to understand as we begin tonight's discussion. Anyway, that's just what I wanted to start it off with.
Thank you, Wayne.
An extra comment?
You may, sir.
Really quickly, if as well as I'm able. I'd like the list of those 3 people that think we're not business friendly. But more importantly, anybody who watches these and goes all the way through a process will often see the business owners, architect, attorney, whatever, standing up at the end, thrilled that they've been approved and saying, I had been told you were not business friendly, but I can see it's just not the case. We have, as Chairman
Craig.
That's okay. Craig's the last name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all right.
Chairman Craig has said we are, well, as he implied, we are a bunch of people who understand how businesses work, and we understand what it takes for a business to be established here successfully. And we don't just take what they're giving us in their proposal. We look at the business and we advise them on how to make it even better. And in almost all cases, we have approved the final results. I couldn't be more proud to be on this commission. It's an all-star team, and I hope we stick together.
Indeed, and I mentioned that not only because of the few people, but even some electeds. Recently, a person who was elected on the council seats, actually, the first thing they said to a former member of our commission here is that you guys are just so unbusiness friendly. You're so business, you don't support businesses at all. And then the person said, what are you talking about? And I guess they finally started watching the meetings to learn that. But, I think it's important to make that distinction. We work really hard. We're all volunteers. You know what? We don't always make the best decisions or the most perfect ones, but you know what? We make them very thoughtful and we figure out what's going to work best for the city. And you know what? Well, our job is to advise and counsel, and I think we do a really good job of it. And again, everyone here, we all have diverse backgrounds. I think we all have one thing in common. We all care about the city. And we want to do the best job we can. And I think we do a damn good job at it. Anyway. Mark's sitting there waiting patiently for to start the meeting. so anyway, we're now going to start section J. This is a public hearing, and I guess I have to read this part first. This is a public hearing to consider ordinances amending Title 10, Chapter 2, Zoning and Land Use, and Title 10, Chapter 5, Coastal Land Use Plan implementing ordinance of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code pertaining to regulations for smoke shops.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no objection, we shall proceed.
All right, well, thank you,
So I
Chair.
believe you have something to tell
And
us.
Planning Commission. I have a few slides to share. I'm joined by our Assistant City Attorney, Cheryl Park, tonight. So what's before you is an ordinance that would regulate smoke shops. As you're probably aware, zoning ordinances are required to be reviewed by the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission provides recommendations to the City Council prior to adoption. So that's why this is before you tonight.
A little background on the issue. There are approximately 15 to 17 smoke shops in Redondo Beach. I put approximate because a few may have gone out of business recently, and when we last checked, it was at 16. As stated in the resolution that was attached to the staff report, it's well documented that tobacco poses a health risk. It's uniquely risk prone to minors. There's a high tendency for minors to use tobacco products. And that's why the state is taking proactive measures to look to curb tobacco use and further regulate it. In addition to that, there's also compliance issues associated with smoke shops. We cited Fresno and Modesto, two California cities where the vast majority, upon inspection, were found to be selling either cannabis or illegal tobacco products. We had two recently at Redondo Beach that were also cited for selling illegal products, and actually two more that they're under investigation and pending some code enforcement action that the chief informed me of. So enforcement compliance is definitely an issue with these businesses. Currently, the city does not have any regulations unique to tobacco stores or smoke shops. They're just classified as a general retail use. If somebody wants to open one, they could simply come in and get a business license, as opposed to the lengthier process of getting a conditional use permit where they have to go before the planning commission and demonstrate how they're going to operate. So because of this, and this originated from a city council referral, they directed staff to develop these smoke shop regulations. On April 15th, staff presented a draft ordinance to the city council. The city council provided input on it. That input's been incorporated into the ordinances before you tonight. They also directed staff to adopt or to prepare an urgency ordinance that would place a moratorium on smoke shops. And the purpose of the moratorium is to provide the city with time to develop a permanent ordinance and not allow any new businesses to come in until we do so. So per the requirements of state law, the initial urgency ordinance was for 45 days. We then brought it back and extended it, so it's valid until June 2025. So we have a little under a year until this moratorium goes away or until the permanent ordinance is adopted. So we have plenty of time at this point. A little bit about the ordinance that's before you. First, it creates a definition of smoke shop or tobacco retailer, which is really important to classifying it. It also identifies when that's considered an ancillary use within a business and puts some parameters, because this ordinance does not propose to outlaw tobacco sales within the city. It proposes to regulate stores that primarily sell tobacco, such as smoke shops. It would require a conditional use permit for any existing or new smoke shop moving forward, so it would no longer be just a business license. They would come before the planning commission. It requires the existing smoke shops that are open, legally non-conforming or legal, to obtain a CUP within 5 years from the date of adoption of this ordinance. And the reason they're provided with that amount of time, it's based on established Kate law, and the city attorney can speak to this. And you have to give a business reasonable time if you're going to advertise it out to get a return on their investment into that business. So that's why the 5 years is recommended. It establishes an initial cap of 10 smoke shops throughout the city, and that would really encompass the existing ones. And then eventually to get down to a cap of 5 is what was recommended by the city council. So really it goes from, let's just say it's 16 right now, down to 10 within 5 years. And then as we move to 5, it would be through attrition over time. It would not be on a set schedule. It would just be as businesses abandon their use, change. Well, that'd be the primary way. And other things, they don't renew their license, then those would be removed from the list and the cap would be reduced. So we did make some real minor amendments to the resolution, and we provide that as a blue folder item. This is the section that identifies that any new smoke shop would require a conditional use permit. There was a provision in there within 5 years that was intended to address the existing ones, and that's addressed in the following section. So I just wanted to highlight that we made that change, and that was blue folder. This is the section that addresses how we handle the existing smoke shops, which will be considered legal non-conforming once this ordinance is adopted, because none of them have a conditional use permit. So it requires those businesses to obtain a use permit within 5 years from the date of this ordinance. It's going to be limited to 10. So some of the 17 or 16 will not be able to obtain a use permit. And after those 5 years, those ones are going to have to shut down. And the use permits will be processed on a first come, first served basis. And that's just kind of the fairest way of sorting through who gets to the top of the list. And I've already stated this, eventually the cap would go down to 5 over time through attrition, and that's identified here as well. And then we also added this language shown and underlined just to clarify that the existing smoke shops that are unable to obtain the CUP have to cease operations within 5 years. So we felt it was important to be explicit about that. There are also concentration and location standards within the ordinance. This was actually modeled after the recently adopted cannabis ordinance, where it's 600 feet from sensitive uses such as schools and daycare. And there's a definition of that we referred to in the cannabis that was cross-linked to this. There's also a requirement that they be 1,000 feet from each other. And that's just consistent with the cannabis. And then we have the requirement for Dale Page Park, since it was a commercial use really surrounded by residential in North Redondo Beach. And then it was applied for the cannabis standards, and we applied it here. There's business standards, and I'm not going to go through those, but basically it's operational standards about explicitly prohibiting the sale of illegal products and other operational requirements. There's also the CUP standards. So anytime a CUP comes before the Planning Commission, these would be the standard conditions that would be incorporated as part of the permits. And the commission would have the opportunity to add additional standards or modify these as well. But these are the base standards. And the businesses would be limited in hours between 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. unless modified by the Planning Commission. And there's limitations in terms of the display and the marketing of products that are visible from outside the store. So there would be some control over the aesthetic of the businesses as well. Enforcement, and the ordinance includes details under all these headings, but basically it creates a process to allow the city to inspect the businesses. It's clear about the criminal penalties and being at the level of misdemeanor. It provides the city with the authority to cite for each day that the offense is occurring if they are found to be in continued noncompliance. It expressly prohibits any activity that's prohibited by the state. And that also includes revocation procedures for the CUP or business license. So it would be either. We did work with the police department on this, and according to the police chief, right now, most of the enforcement is really strictly based on state law. So by having local ordinance, local regulations, it gives the police department and code enforcement more teeth to enforce this, more standards to enforce. They don't have to defer solely to state law and get state agencies involved. However, they do work in partnership with the state, and that's how I mentioned that there were 2 businesses were recently cited, and that was in partnership with the state. But the police departments review this, as the city attorney's office has, and is in agreement with these enforcement provisions. And with that, it's staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution, the attached resolution with the modifications, recommending the City Council adopt the ordinance. That said, if the commission wants to spend more time with this, if there's any changes you would like to see made, we could continue this to another meeting. Like I said, we have a year for the urgency ordinance. So action doesn't have to be taken tonight if there's anything real substantive that you want to make a change to. But that's the recommendation. And I will note that following the Planning Commission's review of this, if you do decide to recommend approval, there are probably a few minor modifications we're going to make before it gets to the City Council. With this moratorium in place, we've identified some potential loopholes that prospective businesses are looking to utilize to open up. So we're going to have to make sure to address that in the code. And that's why we have the urgency ordinance. It allows the city to gather information on this and take some time so we get it right. So, but as of now, there's nothing real substantive planned, no substantive plans, changes planned for the ordinance. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Very good. First, I'd like to amend my ex parte communication. I did speak to Mr. Weiner about this as well, too, so earlier in the week. And the one interesting thing that you mentioned, too, was that I know there's been a lot of talk about that enforcement action that happened, and I didn't know that this agency even existed, but I guess that was in partnership with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration, which I guess is like the ATF for state, my understanding is. So we talked about the ability to do inspections. And I noticed in the enforcement end, to jump right in, was just basically, it says here about they can come in and inspect any time. If they wanted to walk in, if the police wanted to walk into a premises, they don't need a search warrant. They could just walk in, inspect, and make sure they're in compliance with that. And then the other question was, you said there's a progressive process by which a business that's not in compliance can have their license revocated. But I was looking to see where that was, because I saw that there's a series of things that says multiple events and how often they happen, but how many events would have to take place before something would be escalated to a potential revocation?
So it doesn't specify a number of events in the ordinance. It would be, and that could be a recommendation from the Planning Commission. I think it would be at the discretion of the city, of staff, in consultation with the police department and city attorney's office as to when it reaches that level. It could be the first violation based on the severity of the violation. Say, for example, if they were selling cannabis from the business.
Yeah, that'd obviously be well beyond their CUP, and that'd be a much more serious offense. I guess I'm just looking at, just like when you have your driver's license, there's a point system, I guess. If you get 1, 2, 3 points, your license is suspended or something. And I don't know if, like you said, it's something we could talk about, I guess. So that was, I didn't see it clear, because some people were asking me like, well, what happens if they get caught 4 times? Violation, does that mean they're shut down, or does that mean they just get another ticket? And so that was a concern that the public had. Anyway, with that, I'll let Mr. Boswell start. I was talking too long.
So forget my original question. Could these situations where a smoke shop is cited for a violation, or perhaps they already do, but can they be accompanied by very large fines, penalty fines for infractions? Surely that would be a big motivator to make sure that you're running your business according to the ordinance.
Are you able?
Already something like that in there, or is it even possible?
So can you speak to that, Cheryl?
So we could make violations infractions, if that's what you're talking about. So we could make it a violation of their, any of their operating.
So a violation of a city ordinance, for example, they're selling, flavored tobacco.
Correct.
Or some illegal device. Could that, what I'm asking is, whatever you want to call it is fine, but a violation comes with a fine, and a large enough fine that a business will decide for its own profitability to avoid getting in that situation. Is that possible to add that in as an immediate motivator? Maybe solve all the problems up front?
That's pretty typical with code enforcement and citations, and code enforcement is in the police department in Redondo Beach. My understanding is our process here currently is that it either moves to being a criminal penalty, or we can schedule the conditional use permit or license for revocation. I don't believe we have like a fine system. That said, it's something I've been intending to take a look at and work on. I think it would make sense to have administrative citations and have fines associated with it. That's the most efficient. So it's on the radar, but it's unique to this ordinance. No.
Well,
So you would have to have like a civil penalty section. And I don't believe we have that in our code. What you're talking
in
about
this code or in some general code? What code are you talking about?
in the proposed code,
Okay.
definitely we don't have it, or within our existing Muni code. What we do have are, and that's what I'm assuming you're referring to, are infractions, but those would be criminal penalties. So like the planning director said, you could go the criminal route, which is code enforcement route, and then they would initiate a case, and then that would be presented to the city prosecutor and go criminally, or you would go through, the CUP route and revoke their permit.
Okay. All sounds very time-consuming and paperwork intensive. When I get a parking ticket, I don't have to do any of that, but apparently I just still have to pay the fine, and I'm a criminal according to that interpretation. If you want businesses to change their behavior, you need to make it expensive for them to continue that behavior, and then they will take care of it themselves. So whatever legalese we need to throw at this to get to the end point of, if you violate these ordinances, you pay a big fine. You violate more than 3 times, your conditional use permit is at serious risk or automatically pulled. I mean, these are smoke shops. We really don't even want them here. We are obviously trying to scale this back to a point where, we can maybe even get rid of them. Pussyfooting around with them is just going to make it take longer and be less successful, and you're going to invite businesses who think they can outsmart us.
So if the planning commission, when you vote on this, want to recommend that we create a fine system with it, that's something that we can take forward to the council and take a look at. I think it would make sense at some point to do it for all code enforcement items, because the longer I've been here, I've been able to observe how that might be helpful. And I've had the thought, if we're just looking to do it for this one and just try to get something in place rather than trying to tackle the broader code, we could take a look at that as well.
But we have a year, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So we have no excuse.
Yes.
Mr. Hazeltine, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of changes that are maybe we could look at. One is that it says them opening at 8 a.m. That's early, I think. I think that should be 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
You're not a smoker, are you?
Yeah.
Can I add to that? If they
like.
open at 8 a.m., high schoolers can go before school
Well,
starts.
they're trying to get the kids. That's
Right,
what I guess.
right.
Yeah,
So-
10 just makes more sense.
And
If
that's a
we could
huge
make that
penalty,
change.
hopefully.
The other changes, I talked with Councilman Barrett from District 5 regarding the 150 from the, what's that park called?
Oh, Dale Page?
Yes. And I asked him, why that park and what's the reason for it? It's because it's right next to the commercial properties, right? So what I would like to see is, rather than just that park, added to all parks. So I was giving him as an example of Veterans Park has commercial all the way around it, as well as residential all the way around it. And I think you mentioned residential was one of the reasons about that park, why it was 150 feet. So I'd like to see all parks, schools, blah, 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 in that same part of the ordinance.
And daycare,
Pardon me?
and daycare centers,
It's in there.
That's already in there. Yeah.
So just add the parks.
or the other two.
Yeah.
On the topic of buffers, I would also like to see added 150 foot buffer from all residential zoning. So we don't have a shop right next to somebody's home.
Okay. Mr. Gaddis.
Where would they be?
Yeah, I didn't see hookah shops really specified in this. And do they fall into this category of smoke shops? I really don't know how a hookah shop, what exactly they're selling in a hookah shop. I've never been in one.
Well, it says,
Well, wink, wink.
It says hookahs, but selling hookahs, right?
It's
Devices, yeah.
Turkish tobacco only.
But does anybody have familiarity with hookah shops? I think
I
people
think it's
pay
a-
to go in and smoke and drink tea or
We
something
should do a
like
field
that.
trip.
Someone on Archie show?
Field trip.
There's one on
Artesia.
Torrance
Oh,
Boulevard too.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Torrance,
Uh-huh.
by the grocery store.
So,
That would be more like a,
well, okay. Well, not to buy, obviously. You go in to
buy
smoke and
the
drink
tobacco
tea, I
there, don't you?
believe. But does that fall into this category of smoke shops?
Well, I haven't researched hookah shops. I've actually never been to one. But it says, places the prohibition or not prohibition, but it defines a smoke shop as a store that sells tobacco products, and it's pretty broad in the definition of that. So if tobacco is in hookah, and I actually don't know much about that product, then I would say it would fall into the category.
I think it's more like a cigar store or something, you know, where you go in and guys
Cigar
smoke
lounge.
and women smoke cigars.
So a cigar would fall, yeah, because it's a tobacco product.
Yeah, but I think it's more like a gentleman's club. They go and drink tea, smoke hookah, I think.
Well, yeah, the problem is we don't know. And I think because if that falls into this category, somehow some part of this definition, and I don't know how it works if you walk in and they seat you and then you pay for time. Again, I don't know how the business model works, but I know it involves smoking on the premises, right? Mm-hmm. And so but you know, I mean, either we capture them explicitly or we give them a pass on all this, which I doubt was the intention here, right?
Well, apparently, according to the internet, hookah tobacco is tobacco that's smoked using water pipe, contains mixture of tobacco, sweeteners, and flavors.
Okay.
Flavors.
So it's tobacco that's smoked on site, sold and smoked on site.
Yeah, so yeah, but I mean, again,
It's against the ordinance.
I mean, they'd be out of business
So they'd have
completely,
to
right?
go to cannabis then.
Is there?
I think it's a little bit different though, Rob. I think we need to find that out. I
Yeah.
think it's a cultural kind of a tea hangout type.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go in and drink tea.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
verify.
we need to
It's
have
either
that
in or it's
looked
out,
at.
right?
Yeah, good point
So-
though.
Are
Yeah,
you
we
suggesting
need to
a
have
field
that
trip
looked
now
at.
to go and check it out? Is that what you're saying? A field trip to go check it out?
Just down the street, yeah.
It also brings up the point, though, what about cigar lounges?
Well, that's
There's
what
an
I mean.
exemption.
That's
There's an
explicitly.
exemption that says that you can smoke them on site, right? Does this
Yeah.
ordinance have any effect on that? Are cigar lounges, I don't know if there are cigar lounges in.
There are in the village now.
Okay, so
Exactly. So
does that
now
make
we're-
up part of this 16 or 15 to 17 tobacco shops?
It does not. These are
Yeah.
what was identified as
25.
retail stores. I was
Yeah.
looking in the ordinance because at one point I think we did have something in there about.
There are two mentions of hookah, but it's selling hookahs
Right,
that it refers to.
yeah.
Who wrote this?
Well, if the commission recommends that we should have,
They lived
it may make sense to have some distinction for the lounges where it's more of an activity
Yes.
center. Because maybe that was in one of the other cities' ordinances I was reading, but I have come across that, and that was clear. When I read it before, it was
Yeah.
distinguished as not being a smoke shop.
Retailers, so these cigar shops, cigar shops, they do sell cigars at these cigar shops, right?
Right.
So they are a tobacco retailer, right?
Yes.
That would be, and it actually even lists cigars on the list in the definition. But in terms of the lounge, this wasn't intended to capture a lounge or some type of use where maybe smoking may occur. It's more about the sales of higher volumes of products.
Right. Those
and
pipes and flavored stuff and selling to children and all of that.
Retail type
Vapes,
environment.
flavor
How are
vapes.
children able to buy tobacco?
So perhaps the hookah and the cigar lounges have other restrictions where they're not allowed to sell any tobacco for use off-site.
Yeah, so that's a
Maybe.
retail type of
No.
operation.
Well.
Yeah, that's not how they work.
Cigar
They're
lounges
used
sell
for people
cigars.
to buy cigars, yeah.
Yeah, the idea is,
I think they're two different animals, the hookah and the cigar.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
no,
some-
these
I
are
think there's
different.
some,
Yeah.
but
No.
Yeah, because like you mentioned I know that the,
Yeah, I think it just needs to be looked
hookah
into.
shops, I think, are
Yeah, that's a
consuming
good
everything on
point.
site.
Yeah, I think that's worth looking into, and if we're gonna address that, make the language tight enough that somebody doesn't come in and try to do a smoke shop and just call the lounge, so we have to make sure
Yes,
that
yes.
the lounge is well defined also. If we're
well,
gonna-
we've already had
Yeah.
cannabis shops open saying that they were churches, so, you know.
There we go.
I guess it's
Okay.
that they could potentially do that. Yeah, because I mean, on some cigar lounges, they do retail, you can buy cigars there, obviously.
Right.
And so, I mean, there is one or two in the village currently.
Need some language.
Yeah, they're either in or out, and it's not clear to me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's worth defining.
So do we want?
Commissioner
to
Light, you had a
include-
question.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it might relate to this because I think you implied this, that you're not going to stop CVS from selling cigarettes. Not that I know if they sell cigarettes, but so that's not in this ordinance. Store that's primarily sells other things, but also sells cigarettes, or is that also, you know?
So there's a definition of ancillary sale, which would be exempted from the smoke shop category. And let's see, occupies no more than 2% of the gross floor area or 200 square feet, whichever is less. We could
That
add,
brings up the point, if you made a really big place and just did it all, tobacco and 2% of it, that would circumvent that law?
The rest was-
Use the rest of the space to not sell anything?
The rest of the space is a hookah lounge.
I'm just curious. How,
Yeah, the rest
how
of the
does that-
space is a cannabis shop
Right. Hookah.
yeah,
and a hookah lounge in the back.
and like I was saying, since the urgency ordinance went into effect, there have been some proposals where it's clear there needs to be a little tightening up of the loopholes. I think these are good points that you're raising, and we should take a closer look at that.
But in the definition, it does say ancillary sale shall mean where a grocery store, supermarket, convenience store, or similar market uses no more than 2%. So you couldn't just
for
open
those,
up.
I got you.
Yeah, you can
That
just
makes more
open up
sense.
space and say, oh, I'm just selling it in this,
This area.
yeah, and there's nothing else in the other area. It would have to be a grocery
little
store.
shoebox on the counter, right?
Right, right.
It's the specialty
We're talking
shops that
about-
are obviously being targeted, so.
Are we talking about 2% of just like the floor or 2% of like
The whole floor.
The
three dimensions?
gross floor area. So it's gross, it says gross
Okay.
floor area or 200 square feet, whichever is less.
So think of it as a FAR for cigarettes.
Oh, now it's getting really complicated.
Commissioner Conway.
So we're at 15 to 17 and we want to get down to 10. That would be 2 per district and then ultimately to 5. Would that then be 1 per district?
All in District 3.
So they're not, the original proposal had it limited by district. However, the council seemed like they wanted to go in a different direction. So it's just a general cap citywide.
So 5 citywide is where we want to
Yes.
end up ultimately?
Yes.
I'll be in Riviera
What-
Village.
Do you know currently what district has the largest number of shops?
I would say it's along Artesia. That's,
Okay.
I guess that's 2 districts, 4 and 5, right?
Right.
Can I ask another
I
question?
know one shop there.
So you mentioned that there's 2 smoke shops that are currently, I guess, found guilty of selling illegal products, right?
Yes.
And how are they currently being punished or disincentivized to do it again?
Cases, because if they are, then you
Yeah,
should
they're-
comment.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
if they're pending cases,
Oh,
then
it's an
I would.
ongoing?
Yeah, I would not
I understand.
discuss
I
those.
thought there was 2 that was complete and 2 that were pending. But, okay.
Is the city currently accepting any CUP applications under the moratorium or no?
We are not because due to the moratorium.
Okay, and then last question. How will the enforcement, including inspections, revocations, and so forth, be funded and staffed?
Well, it would come out of the police department fund.
Okay. Is there any contributions or any way as part of the application process for these and renewal process for these folks to contribute to that?
Oh, like
That's a potential option if the commission wants to recommend that there be some type of enforcement fee or something tacked on to these particular businesses. That's a possibility.
Thank you.
Right, so you're proposing similar to what they were doing with the cannabis ordinance, which a portion of that was to go for education and whatever. I know they had some additional
Inspections
fees and stuff
cost
like
money
that.
and.
Yeah. Okay, interesting angle. Okay. Any other questions? Looking around.
Do you want to open it up to public?
Let's, seeing no other questions, I'd like to open up for public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm
Commissioner
hiding over
Young, don't make you do that.
here. Would it be possible to add restricting the sale of synthetic and tobacco-free products into the definition of smoke shop and tobacco store?
Can you clarify that? Tobacco-free products?
Tobacco-free. So there are a lot of,
Like nicotine based?
yeah, like,
On nicotine.
Like what?
Like e-cigarettes?
like, yeah.
Yeah, where you
Yeah.
have oils or
Where
something, but
it's
it's not
considered
tobacco.
tobacco-free, but
I
it still has
assumed that was in
nicotine in
there
it. It's synthetic tobacco, synthetic nicotine.
Is that, I assumed that when you had all those pictures in the beginning of what is in a smoke shop, that was in there, but I.
Yeah, so the e-cigarettes are identified. When it comes to synthetic,
Well, e-cigarettes can use anything synthetic, et cetera, so.
Bath salts.
so this came up at the city council meeting also, and the definition seems broad enough to encompass that. And then there's also a requirement that they're not allowed to sell anything that violates state law. My understanding is the synthetic is not allowed under state law, if I recall that correctly.
No, it's the
Maybe
flavored that's not allowed under state law.
Flavored tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Flavored
yeah,
tobacco.
and they define, e-cigarettes on page 31. E-cigarette, blah, blah, uses a heating element to vaporize a liquid solution, popularly referred to as juice, and causes the user exhale any smoke, vapor, or substance other than that produced by unenhanced human exhalation. So I think that would cover what you're talking about, right?
I think there's so much focus on the word tobacco.
So if you look further on, it says the use used in e-cigarettes typically contains nicotine, and for this reason, e-cigarettes and their juice can be classified as both tobacco products and tobacco paraphernalia. Okay. And those things are prohibited. They are included in tobacco.
Okay.
The definition of tobacco.
Okay, so if it doesn't contain nicotine, then is it not, or is it prohibited, or is it not? If it doesn't contain nicotine.
Give that THC, for instance.
Or, well, THC is its own
that
thing,
would
right?
fall under a different regulation, under our cannabis regulation. So the way it's written now, it would be considered e-cigarettes, and I'm assuming you mean like vaping, e-cigarettes.
Even though it doesn't have.
Those would contain tobacco, be considered tobacco products or tobacco paraphernalia.
Even though they're tobacco-free.
Nicotine-free.
No, tobacco-free.
Laden with
Correct. Even though they're
Nicotine-free is also.
So vapes are allowed.
even though they're tobacco-free, they are considered tobacco products or
Okay.
tobacco paraphernalia for purposes of this ordinance.
Thank you.
Yes,
Based on that language that I read.
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
So that wraps it up into that.
okay.
Well, the
So should we add
the
bath salts?
addictive substance is nicotine, so that's why I keep
Right.
bringing that up. That's what you really want to keep away from kids. So is nicotine specifically
It
specified
is.
there as a product that cannot be in these e-cigarettes.
So Jamal, can you bring up my screen? So it's this section right here under e-cigarette.
Oh, page 1, yeah.
Yeah, I guess just to,
Typically
I can hear someone
includes
arguing that if it doesn't have nicotine, this doesn't apply. But, you know, I'm not an attorney, so.
Well, is there a language that somebody, a word that somebody needs to add here?
Well,
So is nicotine
Mr.
only
Young, is
derived
there
from
something
tobacco,
you,
or can they get it from another
a
product?
word
You can get it
or
on-
I think
It can be synthesized.
Synthesized.
synthetic or, yeah,
You can make it
synthesized
synthetically.
tobacco or,
synthetic tobacco?
I'm not sure why it
or
says
synthetic?
use typically contains is relevant there.
Yeah,
If
you
you
could-
say juice is considered tobacco product or
There you go.
I mean, if you were to eliminate that whole sentence, the juice used in the e-cigarettes typically contains nicotine, blah, blah, blah. If you just eliminated that sentence,
because it says, to me, it says that if you don't have nicotine in it, you can then put something else that's problematic.
Right.
I think that's an example of one thing you want to avoid, but
it
just-
kind of narrows the scope of what's banned by mentioning, well, they
Nicotine.
typically have nicotine.
Right.
so
You know,
Could have had cocaine in it, or
Well,
if it had bath
referring
salts.
to a-
bath salts.
I think we said, so,
Referring to a superset that includes nicotine, among other things.
yeah. It's an illegal substance, yeah.
So is the intention to include nicotine plus anything else by saying typically? As opposed
the
to
intention is
just
to
nicotine?
include nicotine and put it in the tobacco category for the purposes of the definitions.
Yeah, so give an example to say that this is contained in it, but
Do we need to say synthetic as well as natural nicotine?
I'm going to stick with the fact that there's a lot of things you could put in there besides nicotine that are problematic. So I think saying typically contains nicotine could make a loophole that people could use to get around this.
And-
So either you want to list everything you can't put in there, which is really difficult, or you say juice is a tobacco product if it's through an e-cigarette.
That's what it says. Can be classified as both tobacco product, tobacco paraphernalia, right?
Because the intent is to keep kids from not starting to be addicted to smoking. It would be, e-cigarettes should count no matter what they're using,
Regardless of what's being,
whatever the
I
juice
think that's
is.
a really good point.
How are kids
covers
allowed
it.
to even buy e-cigarettes? Isn't that illegal until you're 18?
it should
You
be.
can't buy cigarettes.
Cigarettes.
Remember when we were kids, they used to smoke those clove cigarettes? I think that was just, what was that?
Clove.
Yeah.
Just like mint
Flavored
stuff.
tobacco.
Yeah, but isn't it, oh, it is tobacco?
It's not
Was there
tobacco, is my
tobacco in
understanding.
cigarettes?
It's clove.
Yeah.
Cloves
Oh, there
is
is?
spice, right?
Yeah,
thought
but
it
the
was
whole
spices, what
idea
I
is to
thought.
get them started on smoking, right? So you're smoking all these flavored products. I mean, I see your point, totally.
I think it started with those little
Commissioner Light.
candy cigarettes with the dust on them that you blow on. You know the bubble
Those
gum?
too.
That's
Candy
what's to get
cigarette,
people on
it's a
smoking.
gateway drug, candy cigarette.
I do
The
remember
little
those.
puff that comes out.
Yeah,
That was so much
you
fun.
had like the chalk on it, you could make it look like you were smoking. Bad, bad stuff.
Okay.
So
So do we
is
have
the
a-
concern that this definition is too broad or too narrow?
It's too narrow and it's
Too
not.
narrow,
narrow.
'cause
It's
if it
potentially could interpret it as too narrow.
Yeah,
If
if it
you,
does-
if I don't use
time.
juice with nicotine, there seems like you could manipulate your way around that.
And I think
classification.
that's why the word typically is inserted there so that it is not
you an option.
narrow, it keeps it broad.
Okay.
So if you
it's-
had,
That makes sense.
like if you read it and it says, and their juice can be classified, I mean, the juice used in e-cigarettes contain nicotine, then you're making it more narrow. But if you say the juice used in e-cigarettes typically contain nicotine, and for that reason, they're considered classified as tobacco products and tobacco paraphernalia and subject to this set of regulations, then I think you're making it broader.
I would add one part to that. I see what you're saying, but typically contains nicotine or other problematic substance or addictive substance, or, if you had that in there, I could see that there's really no other way to interpret that.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
problematic substance is probably even better because it,
Right.
I mean, we're not in the business
Then you
of
have to
demonstrating
define
what's
what's problematic.
addictive, right?
Right.
So.
I would just say other substance.
Or other.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
because you're not kind of describing, who's going to make that determination that it's problematic or not.
Right.
You just say other
Yeah,
substance.
that's a
Okay, I
little
have
too
another
judgy.
question to follow up.
Perfect.
Commissioner Gaddis has a question.
Just
Go ahead.
another, just to follow up, the next paragraph says smoke shop and tobacco stores shall mean any premises dedicated to display, sale, distribution, delivery, offering, furnishing of, marketing of tobacco, tobacco products, or tobacco paraphernalia, and then it goes on to other things. But that specifically refers to tobacco, whereas we had just talked about e-cigarettes, which may not contain either tobacco products or even nicotine being prohibited. And so I think we probably want to refer, maybe just add e-cigarette to that listing, tobacco,
if you
tobacco
look-
products, or tobacco paraphernalia.
Right. If you look at the last sentence of the e-cigarette definition, it says that e-cigarettes are classified as both tobacco products and tobacco paraphernalia.
Okay, so that loops in
Yeah,
e-cigarettes
yeah.
into that. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that defines it back in.
Okay.
Commissioner Boswell.
So is there a reason why in this ordinance we need to explain why we want these things included or not? Can't we just say tobacco and nicotine products, both natural and synthetic, are not allowed, period? Why do we have to say because of this or because of that? Why do we have to justify it? Why can't we just say all of these tobacco-related products and nicotine-related products are not allowed?
Well, we're not saying that they're not allowed. We're saying that tobacco smoke shops and tobacco stores that sell these products are being regulated.
Right.
We're not saying that they're not allowed. They actually are allowed, but
I'm
they're
sorry.
allowed under certain conditions.
I had originally been thinking of this in terms of the e-cigarettes. So tobacco and nicotine products, both natural and synthetic, for use in e-cigarettes and other devices are not allowed.
No, they are
They're
allowed,
allowed.
but you can't
But they aren't.
you can't sell flavored, can you kind of address that?
So-
I think they can't be flavored for kids or something in California.
California,
They
Yes,
get
in California,
flavored tobacco.
yes, since
Vaporizers are fine.
Since December 2022, California has prohibited the retail sale, offer for sale, or possession with intent to sale or offer for sale most flavored tobacco products or tobacco product flavor enhancers. And that's under Health and Safety Code Section 104.559.5B1. And it applies to wholesalers, delivery, and online sellers.
Yeah.
Another question, Mr. Gaddis.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little unclear. So we have, let's throw out a number, 12 shops now. And they're going to have to first come, first serve, apply for conditional use permits. And, a number of those are in violation of this. They're X number of feet from a school, or they're too close together and such. But they're in a location, they're basically grandfathered in that location. Am I correct? That they're staying there. This is now
Well, they are for 5 years.
for 5
at
years.
least.
And then
Legal non-conforming.
if they're going to apply for a conditional use permit at that point, they'll have to move to a new location at that point, if they want to stay in business. But
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
If they violate the location standards.
I mean, they're currently in violation. They have to move. So.
Well, they'll have to start following the municipal code. Right now, we don't have any code.
Right.
municipal code.
Yeah.
So they'll have to start following those, and that.
Right. I just wanted to sort of get an idea of what the grandfathering was. So basically, no new, because we're above 10, no new applications will even be considered. And then just gradually, some go out of business. And at the 5-year point, the ones that are in violation of this ordinance have to move or go close, essentially.
So it's legal non-conforming with the time, with a 5-year.
5-year.
Yeah,
Okay.
so to obtain the conditional use permit, they may have to meet the requirements, and some won't be able to meet it. And that is anticipated, that could help us get from the 16 down to the 10 initially.
Right. And then the getting down to 5 is another 5-year period, is that right?
No, it's not a schedule. It's just as businesses, as they go out of business, as uses change.
Right.
We would not approve any new CUPs until we're at or below
in that 5 to 10
Yes.
range. No new.
But how go out of business, would they be able to sell the business to somebody else and then it stays open?
They could, but the CUP is valid for 3 years. That's what we're recommending. So every 3 years, they will, either the CUP will expire and they will not be able to operate, or they have to file for a renewal. And that would come before the Planning Commission. So you will have a look at these businesses at least every 3 years.
I'm confused here, though. If you can't get 10 CUPs, right? You can only get 5, and there's 10 plus stores, right?
So the way it's crafted, the existing legal non-conforming businesses can obtain the 10 CUPs.
So we can get 10 CUPs.
Up front, yes, and it's specific in the ordinance that's for those existing businesses that are permitted currently.
Is it a goal or a requirement that of those 10, it will be no more than 2 per district?
There's nothing in the ordinance that requires that. That was something originally proposed in the first draft that went to the city council, but then the city council directed staff to remove that.
Right, so it's a wish list on that. Are there any other questions from anyone? Just Mr. Boswell.
Just to get further clarification on the CUPs. So if you have 15 shops and they all want to jump right on this and get CUPs, only 10 would be allowed to have them? Only the first 10 would be granted?
That's correct, and then the remaining would still have 5 years.
Run out their lease, or they could go 5 years at the most.
Yes.
And if they've run out their lease or gotten to the end of that 5 years and there are still 5 or more CUPs in the city, then they couldn't even apply for one, right?
Only one. Yeah. Okay.
If there were.
So if they don't have a CUP
Yes.
and they get to the end of their 5 years and they now want to get one, but there are already 5 in place, they wouldn't be allowed to even apply for one, right?
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. And so at some point, the hope is that the 10 that get them up front among the existing shops, some will just fade away after a while.
That's the intent, and that was the council's directive that we try to get down ultimately to a number of 5 in time.
Is 5 a magic number based on some study?
Open a prayer.
Roughly 1 per district, I guess.
Yeah.
But then it's not tied to district. They could all be in District 1 and it would be legal, right?
Probably how they came up with 5, though.
Why 5?
5 shops.
I think that number was based off of the recommended number of smoke shops per people in the county.
Yeah, and they were piggybacking off of what they're going through with the cannabis ordinance as far as applying a certain amount across the city and a certain.
And there are not going to be 5 cannabis shops.
Right, there's not. But that was kind of like the idea they were thinking, like they were going to limit one for the north and south, they were going to limit smoke shops to one per district. But again, that was just a wish list.
What we
It
could
wasn't-
do is have no smoke shops, and anyone who doesn't make the cut on the cannabis shop can be offered a smoke shop as a consolation.
Indeed.
A related question.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So for these 10, and looking through it, it looked like the only qualification was first come, first serve. It said that's the fair way to do it. So kind of two-part question. Shouldn't we also be looking at, they might be the first one to apply, but we know that they're not going to meet the requirements of the ordinance in 5 years. So would that be considered? And then the second part of my question is, those applications, would those be handled solely within the planning department, or would those come in front of this commission?
They would come before the planning commission, and the first come, first serve just addresses how they're processed. It doesn't guarantee they're going to get approved. So if somebody applies first and theirs gets denied for some reason, we would move on to the next one in the queue.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'm going to follow up on that.
Please go ahead, sir.
So, okay, that was the question I was going to ask too. But so these applications come in, let's say from 15 existing ones, if they exist, for the 10 slots. And each one of those is going to be brought before the planning commission to either approve or deny so this is not a ministerial thing. It's on their own merits. They're going to be coming up in front of the planning commission.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And if they're in violation of one of these ordinances that are going to be put in place when it's permanent, they wouldn't get a CUP, I assume.
Yes, that would be the basis for denial.
Or could be a basis, yeah.
All right.
Are there any other questions?
Makes sense.
Okay. So before we continue saying the term juice, and I got to get the idea of O.J. Simpson out of my head, I guess we can now open it up for public comment, or do you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we make a motion to open up for public comment?
Motion to open up for public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's do so. So are there any members of the public that do wish to speak on this item? I see a familiar face coming to the podium.
Good evening, Commissioners. Eugene Solomon, Redondo Beach, District 1. Glad to see that part of the ordinance details specific areas within a shop. For limitations, what you'll find is when ordinances are created like this, the smoke shops, because they have other products, will reclassify themselves as grocery stores or other. So thank you for including those limitations within the ordinance itself. The enforcement arm for this, the previous, I'll call them raids, were conducted by a state agency, the CDFTA. So that's who would be doing some enforcement of our shops that still existed within the city. Commissioner Conroy directed his comments to what I wanted to direct. When Fresno did this, when they cracked down on their smoke shops within the city, they went to the California Department of Justice. They offer a tobacco grant program funded by Proposition 56. This program allocates a portion of revenue generated from increased tobacco taxes to local law enforcement agencies. In October 2024, the city of Fresno received $1.4 million grant through this program to specifically address illegal tobacco sales at smoke shops. So what I came here to say and ask is that if you would please, as part of your direction to the city council, ask that the city council find a way to seek these grant funds, if still available, under Proposition 56 for our Redondo Beach Police Department enforcement of illegal tobacco sales. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other members of the audience wish to speak?
Usually try to, because I only have 3 minutes, I usually try to squeeze to write everything. So first of all, hookah. Hookah is smoking, definitely. And in the hookah shop, they sell tobacco products that are consumed on site. So there are dangers to hookah. You can have hallucinogenic substances in the hookah pot. And so I see no reason to exempt them. Also, I was asked by a representative of the Redondo PTA to inform you about the resolution by the California State PTA at their convention in April 2023 regarding synthetic and tobacco-free nicotine products. And I think the reason they're concerned about this is that the manufacturers and promoters of these products target them at children because they know children can't buy tobacco. So they market and design their products to be attractive to children and to avoid any association with tobacco. However, the synthetic nicotine is as powerful as tobacco. And so I'm just going to read you the summary, and if you'd like, you can receive and file this document, which is called Synthetic and Tobacco-Free Nicotine Products, adopted by the PTA, California PTA Convention. The manufacturers of these products use marketing specifically targeted to youth, suggesting that these products are safe, healthy, non-addictive, and do not contain nicotine, which is true. They don't contain nicotine. They contain a synthetic chemical that imitates the effects of nicotine. Let's see, do not contain nicotine, leading to a rapid ongoing increase in youth use and addiction. An estimated 42% of youth cannot correctly identify the source of nicotine, interpret tobacco-free nicotine, or understand nicotine concentration language. Sales occur via e-commerce and in storefronts, not allowed to sell nicotine-based products with no age restrictions. In other words, any store could have these products because they're not tobacco. You know, they're like candy. So anyway, if you'd like to receive
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please accept.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Are there any persons online who wish to
We
comment?
have one attendee that would like to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lee Martin, and I represent the California Fuels and Convenience Alliance. And I'm here to express my concerns about the proposed smoke shop ordinance and its unintended consequences for convenience stores and gas stations. While we support public health goals, this ordinance creates unfair burdens for businesses that are not the compliance problem that you are trying to solve. The real issue is with smoke shops selling illegal products and not with convenience stores selling lawful tobacco products. There are three critical problems. First, the ancillary sales restrictions are unworkable. Limiting stores to 200 square feet or 2% of floor area is insufficient for normal inventory. Second, the vapor product prohibition is inequitable. Convenience stores cannot sell vapor products without being reclassified as smoke shops, subject to your 5-store citywide cap. This forces customers to neighboring cities, hurting local businesses and city tax revenue. Third, there's no grandfathering protections for existing convenience stores that might be reclassified, and no provisions for license transfers when businesses are sold. This threatens business values and investments. We requested the council exempt convenience stores and gas stations using their corresponding North American Industry Classification System codes. This will help target actual smoke shops while protecting legitimate retailers who serve the community's broader needs. We respectfully ask you to recommend amendments that achieve public health goals without hurting local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing there's no other speakers, do we want to get a motion to close public comment or?
Sure. Motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, do you discuss any items or, any suggestions on some of the items we brought up that we want to have staff incorporate in a future draft or?
Yeah, I thought there's great suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, I did a quick list of some really good ones. Obviously, restricting the hours of operation, I thought that Commissioner Hazeltine brought up was really good. Because currently it's 10 to 8 and you wanted to go, or 8 to 10 p.m. You wanted to change it to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
10 to 9?
8 to 9, so 10 to 9.
10 to 9. That obviously sounds very good. Also about excluding, having exclusion zone around all parks, not just some.
All parks.
And we also had discussion about progressive penalties, if that's something we want to flesh out now or perhaps bring a for more details later. I don't know how we could do that. And then the advice that the city treasurer Solomon brought up about seeking to council, at least in our recommendation, to seek some aid from Prop 56 funding, so we could address some of the concerns that Commissioner Conway brought up about using some of the funds to either education or crack down on some other things. Are there any other items that people
There were
want to
two other things.
Yeah.
One was the idea of there being financial penalties
Right.
in
Progressive
addition
penalty.
to putting the CUP in jeopardy, because that's it's either take away their CUP or they don't get punished. Whereas a violation may not be of the magnitude that you want to yank their CUP. I don't know any hypotheticals offhand, but it seems like there's a likelihood there is something out there that be that way. So I guess a recommendation that that council consider there be some financial fines for violations that don't meet, are not of such
criminal level.
Yeah, violations that.
Wouldn't just taking their CUP though be even worse?
It is worse, right? But what if the violation is not really a big violation?
Well, why not just, I think it was mentioned, just the violation, they would just lose their CUP for breaking the law.
On the first offense?
How about considering a suspension? Is that a possibility, suspension of the CUP or ability to
You could consider suspension, you can consider additional conditions, but this body, the Planning Commission, would hear those types of issues. So if there was an incident and it was significant, staff would bring that back to this body. And so this body would make that determination. You could determine, well, selling, something that you're not allowed to sell, like cannabis, is serious enough where we're just going to revoke your CUP.
Okay.
If it's a violation that they opened till 9:30 on one night, then you might say, you know what, we're going to make sure that you have inspections, I don't know, for the next 3 months. You can calibrate your response based on the violation, and that would be your decision. So you can look at it that way.
We wouldn't be able to impose a fine.
We could.
We would not be able to unless it is included either in the ordinance or we would have to make it part of the ordinance.
Okay, if it's suspension, which is the same thing.
Well, yeah, I suppose that seems really complicated. Yeah, it can some open language just be included in the ordinance that says whatever body is considering this, whether it's the Planning Commission, can also impose fines for different violations and just leave it at that.
You would have to set forth the amount of the fine because they should have the opportunity to know what that fine is beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ordinance could refer, like as established by a city council resolution for the fine amount.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the thing I'd be concerned about is that we have this kind of an arbitrary application, and like the city attorney had mentioned, you can't just say, well, this person gets $100 fine, this one gets $1,000 fine. You have to have a very clear schedule on what you're doing, or else you're going to be accused of being capricious and arbitrary, and we don't want to do that. That could set up the city for potential liability.
The reason I like suspension over fine is because $1,000 fine to a large operator doesn't have the same impact that it does on a small operator. But if you lose if your license is suspended for 30 days, it's more equitable.
Yeah, your whole business is at stake.
So with the fines, they can be applied for each day the violation is occurring per the ordinance. That's where it could add up to being a substantial amount.
Well, that's
That takes enforcement.
That's an infraction. So that's a criminal route. But if you wanted to impose a fine, you could. My suggestion is if you go down that road, you be very clear as to the fine amount. Like Chair Craig mentioned, I wouldn't want to just say, oh, you're subject to a fine. based on the discretion of, either the commission or the council or staff. Like, I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest making something more concrete. But Commissioner Conroy's comment is, I think, maybe more equitable in the fact that if you're closing down a business, so you have a violation, you're closed down for 30 days until,
Also, $1,000 fine today is not the same as $1,000 fine 10 years
Right.
from now.
True.
Cost of living increases.
Commissioner,
Is it my turn?
go ahead.
So we just need to make sure that whatever the penalty is for violations, it's not something a business or an owner would just consider to be the cost of doing business. Yeah, pay the fine, and yes, here, you can still buy this stuff. Oh, pay the fine again. I'm making more money on this than the fines. So, or the penalties or the shutdown. Also, it just seems like a lot of unnecessary work for everything to have to come back before us to discuss and spend a whole half an evening, figuring out how to ding them. I would suggest that we have removal of CUP if they're selling anything illegal. So cannabis or flavored tobacco or whatever kind of juice they got in there. If it's illegal, it's automatic. You lose your license, you shut down and you're out. For other kinds of infractions, there should be specific fines that they will know up front. And when the code enforcement or whoever person goes in there and says, aha, flavored tobacco, you're out of business, but then goes over to another shop and says, you're staying open, you're opening an hour early and closing an hour late. That's a $5,000 fine. And you're closed until you pay it. I mean, this way, it's not coming back to us. Everybody who's in this business knows what the ramifications of their risk-taking is, and it all will work so much smoother. There's less bureaucracy involved, and we achieve the same ends. We make the fines serious enough so they're not just considered the cost of doing business. And for illegal activities, you just lost your business. One time, you're out.
So for the fine suggestion, I think that, you would have to discuss that, what level of violation would constitute what level of fine. But as far as automatic revoking of a CUP, you can't do that. You need to give that person due process. So they need to be able to address the violation. They need to be given, you have to give them an opportunity to be heard. You can't just revoke
So kind of the same thing. They get caught selling cannabis, they go before the judge, the witness, the jury says, yeah, they're guilty, okay, you're out of business. Yeah, whatever process has to happen to make it legal, of course, we need to do that.
Right, so it would
And
have to come.
That's why we ask these questions and why we want
So
legal
you would be the body,
We would be the judge.
you would be the body to make that determination. And then whatever decision that this body renders, the business owner could appeal that to the city council.
So they would.
And then they could ultimately
So
sue.
If a smoke shop is selling cannabis, gets caught, evidence is seized, they come before us for judgment? I don't get that.
For revocation of the
They don't go
CUP.
before
We would review that, again, just like we would.
It's not it's not a crime?
Yeah, it's the same process.
You could take the criminal route, but that's separate. There are two separate processes.
Why wouldn't we just do that if it's a crime?
But they would still,
They'd still be open.
Commissioner Boswell?
Yeah, they
We're
could
the ones that
still
could
be
take the
open
seat.
Job
and
is
operate.
conditional use
Commissioner
permit.
Heseltine? Go ahead. You were going first.
That's
sorry.
our job as a planning commission. So either way, it always is going to come back to us if it's a business in the
So
city.
there's not a way to minimize the bureaucracy involved in enforcing this.
We grant and rescind CUPs.
Right,
Correct.
and that's separate from the criminal.
Correct.
So there couldn't be a situation where the city would revoke their business license and they couldn't operate?
There could be, so the
But you still have to have a hearing for a revocation of a business license.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the
Yes.
city could probably tell them that they have to shut their door for a period of time until they could be scheduled to come in potentially, but ultimately we have to give them a due process on that.
Correct.
And can that due process be set up so that it's very clear what the outcome is going to be? The point of this is trying to keep these business owners from taking risks they think they can get away with, or to engage in activities where the penalty is nothing more than the cost of doing business.
I mean, what you can do is say, a serious violation such as, selling cannabis could result in a severe penalty, including suspension and even revocation. But you cannot prejudge a decision for a future council, a future commission.
But it's not prejudging. It's not prejudging. It's setting penalties for certain activities. It's not judging that they have actually done it or not. It's saying, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. Well, now they decide, well, I'm going to try it anyway and see if I can get away with it. Nothing.
You can do that in the criminal.
Nothing is judged until they're before.
You can do that in the criminal context. You cannot do it in this administrative context.
Correct. Yeah, we have to hear them out and make a decision at that point.
But that's the judging part, right? Which I'm not saying we don't do. Apparently, they need to have due process, whether it's us or the criminal system. What I'm getting at is actually not that at all. That's a given. What I'm getting at is that they should understand that it's very serious, and they need to not consider it the cost of doing business.
Well, so the differentiation is that we're not a criminal body. We're just doing a civil administrative.
And that's why there's two different ways to judge this. And if they come before us, it isn't the criminal.
So the scope of our process would only be on either applying or granting a CUP or revoking it. And that's all we could do. We can't prosecute.
Right. So the enforcement section of the ordinance provides two potential options. One is criminal penalties, and it says it's subject to Title I, Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code, or the revocation, which is subject to Section 10-2.2506, which provides the procedures for scheduling it for a revocation hearing with the Planning Commission. So it gives two options to the city, and I will say, as I've been involved with code enforcement matters, usually the city does utilize both of those, and we have one right now. It's actually in the process of maybe heading towards revocation. So it's the either or, but I hear what you're saying, because there isn't, we don't really have a system for the lesser infractions and dealing with those, and that's where maybe a fine system would come into play and be like, say, for example, something minor like hours, if we don't want to go as far as scheduling a full hearing. I think that goes beyond just this type of business. I think that's something that we need for code enforcement across the board. But that said, if the commission wants to recommend that we consider it for this, it may be a good way of opening the door to discussing it more broadly.
And revocation would include suspension or a set term? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, my question is about that more general, because I heard you say that a little earlier, that we really in Redondo Beach don't have a code enforcement penalties in place for any of the codes. Is that what I heard you say?
Well, we have the ability to revoke, and then we have...
Right, but to say your building thing, you don't have a permit right now.
We don't have civil penalties.
We don't have civil penalties.
Correct.
I'd be very cautious for this body to recommend that we open up civil penalties to all violations, because there's a lot of things there I think that could be problematic with, like permits and things like that. So my question is, can it be specific to smoke shops and cannabis, I guess, because that's a popular topic as well, that we start there and then see how that goes, and if you want to then open it more broadly.
One concept, and I haven't researched this, so this is something I would have to look at, and maybe Mark has experience in this, but one thing we can do maybe in conjunction with the CUP is have the business owner post a bond. So like post a bond for, I don't know, like $5,000, right? And so if there are violations, then we just draw on that bond. I mean, that's kind of the idea. And I would have to see if that's something that we can do, but that would alleviate setting up a civil penalty system, which is going to be intense. Like Mark said, we'd have to have it kind of apply
Hard to
across,
recover the money.
I think
yeah,
that's a great
across
idea.
the board.
Yeah.
But then this would, you know, focus on just the business owner, which addresses your concern. So I can look into that. That could definitely be a recommendation that this body makes to the city council. And during that interim period, I will research it and present that to the city council as a recommendation from the planning commission and see if that's
I
viable.
think that's a real good.
That's an excellent mechanism to accomplish what we're
It's a
trying
real
to do.
good idea, and particularly with the fact that this is the kind of thing that people do violate. It's not like we're making, we all see that that's.
Right.
It's a
And you would
high-risk
be in the best
business.
position to make that determination because you're seeing the CUPs and the, you know, possible revocation hearings. So I will definitely make that part of my workflow for this item.
Okay. Commissioner Gaddis.
Yeah, when you were talking about the possible, criminal charges, based on a violation, I think you used the word "or," and I don't see it in the language on here. Maybe you meant "and/or" a revocation of the CUP.
It would be and/or, it's both
and/or.
options,
Okay,
and it depends on.
Yeah, and I didn't see it in the language anyway, but just in case I missed it. The other thing we talked about a little bit was specifically naming or calling out the hookah lounges.
Oh, right.
And so if we could add in there something like, I don't even know what the wording would be.
Well, is it a smoker's lounge? Is that
Yeah, a
Cigar
business-
or hookah.
That would be cigar or hookah. Do we want to rope in cigars too? It's an open question.
They're both tobacco.
Just ban cigars altogether.
Yeah, they're still tobacco
Awful smelling.
nicotine products.
Okay, so basically, something to the effect of a business that allows smoking inside of the business. I mean, basically, that's it, right?
And sales.
Lounges. Well, they sell for on-site consumption only.
Except
that a-
cigar
make-
lounges.
Well, for the hookah lounge, yeah, cigar
allow you
lounges
to
are different
leave
from
it.
hookah lounges, but for hookah lounges, it should be consumed on-site. And for cigar lounges, it's a bit broader because they are in the business to sell cigars.
Do we
not
even know
just
if hookah
places.
lounges sell tobacco on site that you can take home with you? I don't know.
Well,
But that
they
isn't
might
really
try
the
to
issue.
once
The issue is
these
they sell
ordinances in.
tobacco and you consume it on site. That's the issue.
Absolutely. And under this ordinance, these tobacco shops cannot sell tobacco to be used on site.
Well, right, but it doesn't, we're trying to loop in hookah lounges and cigar lounges
Has to be a
as well.
separate set of.
So it's something we could include in the definitions and make it clear that it's not included with the definition of tobacco retailer. So we could define that use. And I think it's also important to ensure that it's not going to be used as a loophole for a smoke shop to open and call themselves so that's
Bring
another
in some
reason that definition is important.
Cushy chairs and say, oh, we're a tobacco lounge now.
Some recliners in there.
So I don't know what the language that would be added specifically would be, but the only thing I can think of that would be encompassing of both cigar shops and hookah lounges would be a business that basically allows smoking to occur on the premises.
Yeah, it's a commonality.
There is a definition for that, and I did come across it.
All right.
So I know where I'll go to look for it following this meeting.
Okay.
Well, just to make it more complicated, I did look up in Redondo Beach. There is a house of cigar and liquor. You can buy cigars and liquor at this place. It does bring up this issue of the convenience stores that the caller brought up. Does this really affect convenience stores? I thought that was a pretty good point, the potential of an unintended consequence.
I'm concerned about it, but it doesn't seem like it applies.
I thought it didn't from the definition of grocery stores, maybe convenience stores.
It limits the
$200 or 2%.
Yeah, it limits the footprint, and we took that based on what some other cities have used and assumed that was industry standard. We could take a closer look into that matter. And I'd be happy to reach out to that individual. I think she actually contacted me this week, just get a little more information. I think it's important with that the intent is that we are allowing markets and convenience stores to sell tobacco products, but that there needs to be some flexibility to ensure there's some wiggle room within that 2% or 200 square feet.
So how many square feet is a small gas station in terms of their retail operations? We're talking about, I mean, it's the definition of retail operations, right? Because so, I mean, is it 100 square feet? We're talking about them having 2 square feet of cigarettes?
They're typically larger, and it
They're pretty small convenience store.
Yeah.
So 200 square feet. Yeah. Okay. And so it'd be 4 feet of cigarettes.
We'll call it the nicotine far.
And is that 4 feet vertically?
This is for grocery stores or convenience stores consisting of 250 square feet or less. They can't have more than 5 square feet for the display, sale, distribution tobacco. So 5 square feet, if you think about what cigarettes look like in a small convenience store, they're narrow and they're high. So 5 square feet.
5 by 5 and a
So
foot.
it's measuring a footprint, right?
Yeah.
We could add something that gives some discretion to staff, like, or in the opinion of the director, the use meets the category of convenience store. So I think it's probably good to have a baseline, but also provide some wiggle room where there can be some discretion and common sense applied also.
That would be helpful.
Yes, so you wouldn't have a 1 square foot item that's 8 feet tall with cigarettes on it, right? So,
What would be the problem with that?
And the reality is, we're not going to be, staff's not going to go out there with tape measures measuring it. This is in case kind of sets a standard if somebody's applying, trying to get a backdoor to a smoke shop, and allows us to address it if it does become a problem at a store.
Right.
okay. Are there any other suggestions, items, or do we want to get a summary of that, or please go
I
ahead.
had one more that the commission recommended, or other substances was going to be added in that sentence about the nicotine products.
Okay. Right. Commissioner Conroy.
In addition to what Commissioner Hazeltine said regarding the 150 buffer on the parks, I would recommend adding to have the 150-foot buffer around any residential property. And then we spoke about the funds that we could seek from the state, but we also mentioned earlier as far as should we add a recommendation that the applicants have some sort of costs that are required that would offset the city's cost for the inspections and administration of the program?
Like
Grant.
Just
the Prop 56 was one option. You're saying in addition to that?
yes.
Okay.
Like a conditional, a CUP application fee?
Yes.
Right.
$1 million.
You have a CUP application fee, right?
We did.
Are we doing it for the cannabis stores or
Well,
as
no,
part of the
there's-
discussion?
Well, it was part of that, but that whole issue's
Do
on
something
hold,
like
so,
that.
Okay.
yeah. But that was part of the
There is
consideration.
there is a cost to
Coming in
administering
front of
this,
us.
and they're the, they benefit from it.
Yeah, in the cannabis one, it was good to go toward education and
I
inspection.
think we're going to hear the word on this.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess
So there's already a fee for processing CUP applications. You could amend that fee to add more money, increase the fee to cover, like if we were to require a bond in order to kind of administer that bond, we could, add additional amount for that. You just have to make sure that that fee covers the actual costs. Like you can't,
Like make up a number.
You gotta make money on it.
yeah.
But
you-
there's a cost, and not every company that comes before us looking for a CUP has police doing impromptu inspections of their business. This
Correct.
is a special
So-
case, so it seems like there
right.
should be a special cost.
Right. So we can look into increasing the cost for processing these types of CUPs.
So we can put that into our recommendation to the council.
You could, and coincidentally, we have a comprehensive fee study going to the city council in a few months, so that could be the opportunity to, and it may make sense to apply, if we're gonna do it for this type of business, potentially bars, probably likely draw on more resources from the city, and maybe some other uses we may want to take a look at that time.
Which we can't really talk about because that's not on the agenda.
Perhaps recommend that it be included in the fee study that's currently taking place? We could do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Mr. Boswell, you had a question?
Oh, my hand was stuck up there we had a cramp from being up there too long. I don't know if this is even possible, but just like, spitballing, I guess. When an office building or an industrial park wants to cover the cost of maintaining the building, they charge the tenants a percentage based on square footage of a common area maintenance fee that is part of their usually monthly rent, sometimes an annual pay up. Is there a way to total up the total cost of smoke shops each year, divide it by the square footage of each shop, and ding them each with similar to a common area maintenance fee, so that they would basically cover the full cost of this whole thing? And perhaps encourage a little industry self-policing by some of the more serious business owners getting on some of the bigger risk takers that are costing everybody more money.
Well, I think that would be along the lines of there being an impact fee, as we've been discussing, and maybe there would be a formula where it's applied to the square footage. In terms of sussing out the cost of enforcing against smoke shops, I would need to speak to the police chief about it. I don't know if they're able to do that level of breakdown and really carve that out.
They have computers, right? They have Excel, right?
I mean, they could probably
track
give it,
all of their activities.
they could probably give an estimate. So I'm not saying it's can't be done, just something I'd want to speak to the chief about and get a sense as to whether
It would be very important for them to be on board with it, or it isn't going to work. Yeah.
Indeed. Are there any other questions from the online at all regarding our discussion?
We have 3 e-comments in support of this.
Okay.
Of this, what?
Of the
This ordinance, yes.
Ordinance,
Discussion of the
okay.
ordinance, yeah. Okay, so what next at this point?
Motion to
close.
public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So public hearing is closed.
Okay, I'd like to let's see, make a motion to accept J1, PC 251025, the public hearing to consider ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 2 zoning and land use, and Title 10, Chapter 5 coastal land use plan, implementing ordinance of the Redondo Beach Municipal Code pertaining to regulations for the smoke shop, with the suggestions that we made tonight.
So,
Want to list those?
and it would be for the adoption of the resolution, correct?
Yes.
With all the suggestions by the Planning Commission to go to the City Council. And that would include the hours, a possible bond, recouping of inspections and violations, Prop 56 funding, 150-foot buffer between parks and residential and the actual business, clearing up the definition regarding hookah or cigar lounges. I think
Perfect.
that's everything.
So motion to accept the resolution.
Second.
And all in favor?
Well, it should be a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry, we need a roll call vote. You're correct.
Commissioner Light,
Aye.
Commissioner Boswell,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Aye.
Commissioner Gaddis,
Aye.
Commissioner Conroy,
Aye.
Commissioner Hazeltine,
Yes.
Chairperson Craig.
Yes. And so the motion carries.
Gavel.
Boom. Bang on the gavel. So You didn't know? Yeah, it's there. Indeed. Okay, so I guess we're on item K now at this point. Any items continued from previous agendas? I don't believe we have any. Items for discussion prior to action, and then any items from staff that you'd like to provide tonight?
Yeah, I do have a few quick updates.
Sure.
So my department recently completed our strategic plan, and we posted it on the city website. We met with the consultant over a few workshops and developed basically a plan that lists out all of our goals and strategies to achieve those in terms of just making the department run more efficiently and improve our processes. And a lot of the stuff, the goals and the implementation measures in that plan are underway. So if you're interested, just go on the community development webpage and you can click on it. In fact, I'll even email it out to the commission just so you can be aware. And it's a short document. It's only 3 pages. And in that, we have our mission statement, vision statement, and we also have our operating principles and the performance metrics that we're going to be working to achieve. So I'm excited about that. Along those lines, we implemented our new permitting system back in April. It's called iWork. The first few months were a little bumpy, but it's actually coming along really nicely. And I think the community's they're getting to the point where they've learned it pretty well, know how to work with it. I do anticipate starting probably in August, we're going to have monthly activity reports we're going to be posting on the website, and I'll be sharing those with the Planning Commission. And it's going to provide the volumes of applications and the types that are coming in, and then also give the average review time. So that's how we're going to hold ourselves accountable to that strategic plan. But that was one of the main reasons I wanted the system, and it's really effective in preparing those reports and assessing what's coming in and what's going out. But also it has the online permitting option and a lot of other features. So that's been really helpful. And I mentioned the fact that we have metrics on review times. The city council earlier this week did approve an agreement that's where we're going to be outsourcing most of our building plan checks to third-party consultants. And the building plan checks, that's for the construction phase. That occurs after the project is approved through planning or the planning commission. And then the construction drawings are pretty thick in terms of details and engineering. It's a pretty intensive review process. So that's really been a bottleneck in the department, I would say, in terms of getting things through the process. And it could sometimes take a year to get your building permit from when you submit. So this is really going to expedite that. In the agreements, we have certain performance metrics that we're asking of the consultant. We're paying them a little bit more to achieve that. But basically, we're going to try to get our average review time down to 2 weeks.
Wow, nice.
Medium projects and 21 days for more significant projects.
And the burn areas are looking at that type of thing too. So it's going to be a lot of consultants doing very well, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a model cities are going to as the building code just continues to grow and grow. It's really challenging for departments to work their way through the workload. We only have 2 in-house plan checkers right now. And when I got here, I quickly identified that they were probably overworked, and it's not due to their fault. And that's why some of the plan review times were taking 8-10 weeks because of that. So it was taking, and that's just for the first check. Then somebody would resubmit. You're looking at another 8 weeks, and it just ends up, you can see how it adds up to being a year or more. So
Mark, are the consultants using the AI programs? Because I was just talking with somebody Pacific Palisades, and I guess they're talking about using the consultants in the AI program, and that they're going to, in LA, be really quick with these plans.
Yeah, so we are going to use a combination of both. We actually met with 2 software providers just this week to receive demos, and it's really exciting and scary what AI can do. But I think the human element, at least for now, is still going to be necessary in terms of finding solutions and being the quality control. Right. But it will definitely help with some of the busy work of just getting through the initial check, and we were pretty impressed by what we saw with those demos. So yeah, that's
part of it.
in the works also, and that was actually in our strategic plan that, utilize AI and technology and find ways to do that. So yeah, that's going to be, we want to be one of the first cities to do that in the South Bay.
Excellent.
So
Quick question on that, Mark, is I've talked to some other, I've done construction work in multiple cities across South Bay, and you're correct, the delay times are always hard to deal with. That said, Redondo has actually usually been one of the better cities. If you go to Hermosa Beach, you're going to be a year and a half. It takes that long. The question, though, with the companies that are going to be doing this other plan checking, I was told that, did Manhattan Beach adopt a similar process? Or were some of the same companies that were looking at to take on this work?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, my only caveat would be that from my builder's comments I've been hearing, when Manhattan Beach made the change, whichever company they're using, they've experienced an incredible backlog. A big problem. So I'm not sure if we're using multiple vendors or that was one of many that we're kind of testing out. But just know that maybe check with our counterparts in Manhattan Beach to see how that's working if they're using the same vendor, because I've gotten feedback that that particular one has not been the best. The question, the concern, what I was told is that one builder told me going that process with that particular vendor added 8 weeks on their time span.
So we entered in the 5 agreements. We have one more that's going to council in a few weeks. We're going to have 6. And our intent is to just base it on performance as we don't want to have 6 long-term, but we'll end up gravitating towards the ones that perform better and can meet our standards.
Good. Yeah, that was my only concern, was just making sure we picked, obviously we're trying it out, and it sounds like it's going to work great. So
yeah, and then we've actually kind of started going this direction the past 6 months and achieved much better results. So now we're just going all in on it, and I think it's going to be really good in terms of the responsiveness. And then finally, the last thing, so on August 5th, the city council is going to be reviewing the phase 2 of the general plan. That's going to be back on the table. We're reintroducing it. And really, it's going to be a focus on the ACAP area and the policies and regulations that look to incentivize redevelopment. We're just going to have a narrow focus on that. We're not going to get into the PI, FAR, or some of the other things. So it's going to be a really good discussion. I'm anticipating. We did a survey of property owners along Artesia and Aviation just to get a sense of what the barriers are to redevelopment. And quite a few of them identified that it is some of the city's regulations. Some of it is the cost of doing the work. So we're going to attach that survey to the packet. So that will be in there. And then we also have, we commissioned some studies to be done, because right now the general plan recommends the 1.5 floor area ratio, and these visuals that we've produced show the challenge of achieving that while providing the required parking. It's pretty much infeasible on a lot of these lots unless you go 3 or 4 levels deep with the parking structure. I don't know exactly what the solution's going to be. We're finding a middle ground, but it's at least good to know that just setting the FAR at 1.5 may not be sufficient. And there's going to be some other proposals put out there also, but really it's kind of it's going to be a discussion. We're not going to be taking anything for final adoption. I do anticipate that if the council provides direction on this, it would come back to the Planning Commission, at least the zoning ordinances that would effectuate some of this policy direction, even though the commission reviewed the general plan a year ago. So I just wanted you to know that's in the works, and I'll try to remember to send the commission a link to that staff report when it goes out, but just be on the lookout for August 5th, and I think it should be a really interesting one.
And as you said, that's primarily with the ACAP areas, what they're talking about.
That's correct. It's going to be
1.5 you're talking about for the ACAP area.
It's going to be a narrow focus to that, and then we're going to broaden it. We're going to have more additional meetings to discuss the PIFR. That's going to be its own meeting. And then we'll get into a few other things like historic preservation and some of the other stuff that came up when we first presented this to the city council last October.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's it for my updates.
Very good. A lot of good things coming our way. And then the other question, I guess, with regard to future items, we all received an email recently from one of the proponents from the Galleria project. Is that going to be coming up in August, September, or what's the thoughts on that?
It is, and I'll, don't want to get into the item tonight because it's not agendized, but that is scheduled for August.
Okay.
We have another ordinance coming, but it's actually a fairly straightforward one that night. So it could be a bit of a lengthier night. So just, be prepared for that. But yeah, we have the Galleria scheduled for August.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I'm just asking because I know it's coming soon. We've been hearing that for about a year and a half. So I just keep curious about that.
Now, unless there's some big change of plans, that's when it's going to
right now.
go.
Okay. Very good. Anyone else have any questions for?
Well, I just want to say, Mark, thanks for sharing that information with us. And also, thank you very much for taking such a proactive approach towards meeting the needs of your team as well as the citizens of Redondo Beach.
Oh, well, thank you. Just trying my best.
One quick question, if you can even divulge this. So in the survey of Artesia property owners, mentioning that part of their reluctance to redevelop is our regulations. Did they specifically, are there any mentioned specifically? Because that's always like the boogeyman. Oh, it's the regulations. Well, is it? What kind of regulations are keeping them from?
Yeah, so the survey identified a few options like parking, floor area ratio, allowed uses. It was pretty, and they had the option of selecting all of them or just one, like it was, they could select any of them. It was a pretty even distribution, although the parking regulations were at the top of the list in terms of being one of the biggest barriers. And there was a good percentage, 70% of the respondents, and we had I think it was 27 respondents, people who responded to it, indicated that they would be interested in redeveloping the property if there was a modification to the regulations.
Parking in particular being at the top of that list, but what was second?
I think it was the floor area ratio. It was pretty even actually so maybe they just clicked them all, but but I know parking was at the top where it was noticeable.
And I can understand it. Business is concerned about expanding or redeveloping their property, and then not enough people can get there to make it worthwhile. We should be looking at what sort of transportation alternatives the city could provide on Artesia, like a tram. Park at the Galleria, take the tram down, get off where you want. It just goes back and forth on one street, a couple of miles. You're never more than a few minutes from getting on or off of one at any intersection. I mean, we could solve the parking issue by having a couple of trams that just go back and forth on Artesia.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, and we need solutions. It can't just be reduced parking and have nothing to replace it. And maybe some of it is the city leasing out some lots to make available to the public, or even building a parking structure in the or two in the area, something to that effect. Perhaps the businesses that want to open or redevelop can pay into a parking in lieu fee that would go into the fund to help fund some of these programs. But I think and I even went to a business on Artesia recently, and it looked like it didn't have parking, and it made me think, maybe I won't stop there, because it was hard to stop and get out of my car. And so I think it's this balance between, in order for the business to be successful, it does need to have some parking, but then at the same time, it's occupying the requirements take up most of the lot. So you have to find, I guess, the sweet spot with all that.
So those are all good suggestions. So
a park and ride situation that delivers customers to your block seems to be an easy solution.
Well, those are great ideas, and I think those are things we should bring up to the council, perhaps going into the meeting on August 5th. Might be a good idea.
I will incorporate that. The staff report is not done, but that's a good idea. And if the commission offline has any other ideas for the parking up there, feel free to share it with me.
Very well. Well, thank you again, Mr. Weiner. Excellent information as always, and as I'll echo what others have said, it's always a pleasure working with you, and you're always available for any questions, even good and bad or dumb ones. You're there to answer for it. We appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, good meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I guess that's it. So we get a motion to end our meeting, adjourn.
Motion
Yep.
to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Ready? Yeah.